Meeting to order, 7:30, with the roll call. You wanna do that?
That's fine. Mr. Simons?
Here,
Mr. Freehand's excused. Mr. Boda?
Here.
Mr. Vatsalis?
Here.
Mr. Horn's excused. Ms. Babel?
Here.
Mr. Blackstock's here.
okay. If you'd follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving on to approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? I have one. I would like to add the aerial imagery GIS system. This is something that came in, when did it come in?
No business.
Yeah, it'll be under new business 5,
6.
6? Yeah, 6. I've got copies of it here. Cindy, they need some kind of action. Either we want to belong to it, or it doesn't have to be paid for until November, but they want some kind of action. So we'll discuss that on. Is there any other additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the GIS.
I'll move to have it.
I'll support.
Okay. It's been moved and supported that we approve the agenda as presented with the addition of the GIS. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the approval of the minutes of January 20th, 2020.
I'll make a motion that if there are no corrections or deletions, that we support the approval of minutes of January 20th, 2020.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we approve the minutes from January 20, 2020. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public comment. Is there anybody that would like to speak on anything that's not on the agenda? We have one. Want to just go to the podium, state your name?
Okay, if I pass out some
Yeah.
information to the board members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hate this.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Sibula. I'm the superintendent for East China School District, and I'm here this evening to share with you some information regarding the bond proposal that will be on the March 10th ballot. This bond proposal is for improvements to the East China School District facilities. The improvements would address our declining enrollment, our safety and security, our energy efficiencies in our buildings, and our technology. On the brochure that I've passed out, the front is explaining what the bond proposal will do for East China School District. And then if you open it all the way up so that you're looking at it this way, has gray and green, it outlines each of the program specifics for each of our school buildings. And a few of the notations I'd like to make are under the district-wide technology upgrades. Our district is in need of technology upgrades. We currently operate on the Windows 7 platform and cannot upgrade at this time. So we are in need of some upgrades that this bond proposal would provide for us. And a few of the highlights are electronic card reader type controlled entrances going back to that safety and security for our buildings, instructor devices, student devices, infrastructure technology, additional security cameras, and electronic textbooks or student devices. Then in looking at the bond highlights for each of our school buildings, each one of them would receive a safe and secure entrance for the enhanced safety in our buildings. Everything from the ceilings to the floors would be upgraded, including the roofs and the windows. In our elementary schools, they would receive all of the upgrades as the secondary buildings. Our Performing Arts Center would receive upgraded lighting and rigging and technology. And our stadium would receive some renovations as well, including the locker room renovations, an entrance renovation, new access road from the stadium area to King. And the guiding principles, which are all the way there on the right-hand side, is that the district continues to need to adjust itself to our declining enrollment. In 2001, the East China School District had just shy of 6,000 students. This year, we have 3,979 students. So we're continually adjusting ourselves, both in square footage and operations, to that smaller number. We also, the average age of our school building is 53 years old. And we're in need of infrastructure and, as I mentioned earlier, technology upgrades. And in doing those things, what we're trying to do is, and I timed myself so I wouldn't go over my 3 minutes.
Oh, you can go over.
Okay, thank you for that permission. Is that we're assuring that our students and staff have access to the most up-to-date interactive technology in their instruction and learning. Teaching and learning looks so very different than it used to, even when I was in school. Most of our curriculum is delivered electronically, and that's really neat because we can fine-tune it to the specific needs of a student instead of everybody looking at the same exact information. We can really drill down to the specific needs of individual students, everything from kindergarten on up. And as information changes for classrooms, we can get that changed in real time. It used to be you'd have to wait for a textbook upgrade. Now we get that right away and digitally, and it really is an improvement. But it's very different than how we're used to maybe seeing or remembering what our classrooms look like. So with our declining enrollment and aging infrastructure and needed technology upgrades, the bond proposal is looking to do all of that. If you open until you see where it says financial information, it has a couple of charts and graphs there, and I'll just take a minute to explain those. The one that has all of the school districts on the left-hand side with East China at the top and Anchor Bay at the bottom, those are the current millage rates for each of those school districts. East China's is 2.08. If this bond were to pass in March, our new millage rate would be 3.58, and you can see where we are in comparison with our surrounding districts. Districts that have recently passed bonds for capital improvements are Anchor Bay, Marysville, Richmond, and Port Huron. So all of those infrastructure and technology upgrades that I was talking about that this bond proposal has, those school districts have passed for their students. This chart here on the left, what we're trying to show here is that in summer of 2019, the millage rate for East China School District was 3.24. Since then, we've paid off 1 mil of debt, and property values have gone up a little bit, so we're at 2.08 for the winter tax millage rate. If this bond were to pass, the new rate would be 3.58. And from year to year, for summer 2019 to summer 2020, that would be a 0.34 increase from the previous year. So just trying to show that the value for these upgrades is there for this bond proposal. So we're hoping that our community can get the information, understand the needs, and help our district to make the improvements that are necessary in the infrastructure piece, in the technology piece, and in our student offerings. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I just don't want to go over the time that I've been given. Yes, sir.
I'm retired and I'm on a fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to keep hearing about the schools want more money, more money, more money, more money.
Mm-hmm.
And you could take schools that you don't use anymore, there's what, 3 of them, 2 of them?
That we don't use?
Right.
We have one that's empty currently. Eddie
Which one is
Elementary.
that?
Pardon me?
Which one?
Eddie Elementary in St. Clair. It has an early childhood program in it right now that we're moving mid-February to central office, and then that building will be empty.
Why are you moving it?
So that we can sell or stop using that building. It's just another square footage, another electric bill, another light bill, another, what's that?
That's why I'm gonna vote no.
Didn't we try closing, consolidating, and it defeated
Yeah.
it?
Well, we're trying to close school buildings because we don't need them anymore. We like I said, in 2001, the school district had almost 6,000 students. We now have 3,979. Next year will be 120 students less than we are right now because we graduate 100 more kids than we have coming in for the next 6 years. So why that's so important for a school district is because we receive our operational dollars based on the number of students that we have. So this year we have 353 seniors and 232 kindergartners. That's about 120 students less. The district receives $8,340 per student to operate its school buildings. To us, that's going to be just over $1 million less next year than we have this year. So we have to reduce our footprint. We have to use less square footage, and we have to get ourselves in a more efficient position. Our buildings, like I said, on average, are 53, almost 54 years old. Our youngest building in the school district is 20 years old. That's St. Clair Middle School, and that's the last time a bond was passed. So the school district asking for funds, what maybe you're feeling is they're trying to find the right plan that the community can support. But we have to pay for our schools. But they tried a small bond in 2016 that people felt just wasn't comprehensive enough, and the district needed to be looked at as a whole, and that was the feedback from that bond. 2019, we did a big comprehensive look at the school district and put that, and that was more than the community was comfortable with. So this bond, we're hoping, taking all of that feedback and understanding along with the needs of the district and put together a proposal that we're hoping, that the community can see the needs for the schools. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Don.
You want to transfer students from St. Clair down to the administration building. Is that correct? Is that what you
It's a
said?
possibility if they want to take certain classes that we can't offer. See, as we get smaller, like I said, we're going to be 120 students smaller next year than we are this year.
I don't
So what
understand why you want all
happens?
the building.
What's that?
I don't understand why you want all the buildings to be put up.
The building that's going to be empty will be Eddie Elementary very soon, and we're hoping to sell that facility. But as you get smaller, you can't offer kids as many opportunities for classes. So when, some of our, and I use advanced placement classes because they're usually the first to go because not many kids take those classes, so they go away faster as you get smaller. But it could be, right now we run a robotics class in St. Clair, but we don't run that in Marine City. If we offered it at a central location, at central office, both ends of the school district, our students could take advantage of that. We have a Science Olympiad team in Marine City, but not in St. Clair. If we offer that at the center location, then our kids, both ends of the school district, have that opportunity. We have a harder time, as we're getting smaller, offering our advanced language classes. You get up into Spanish 4 and 5, you just don't have enough students at both ends of the school district. You offer it in the center, and you can continue to offer that class for our students. As we get smaller, what we feel passionate about is continuing to offer opportunities for our students. Skilled trades has become a huge need in our communities, and if we can offer some classes at that central location that our students can take advantage of, some career exploration classes, that would be a really neat aspect of educating our students, is showing these different careers, but it's hard to duplicate them on each end of the district as we get smaller. It just gets more difficult.
Why can't you just take students and move them around to different schools instead of them coming down to the administration building?
Well, you're going to have to build the facilities at either end. You would have had to put them at St. Clair.
And we're not going after an architectural award, are we?
No, we're trying to
I hope
offer
not.
opportunities for our students. You know, I have a daughter in this school district. I graduated from this school district, and we need to give our kids every advantage and introduce them to every opportunity. And because of our
say every
declining
opportunity.
enrollment, we're getting smaller. And so those opportunities go away by that nature.
School board says that every time you want an election. It's for the betterment of the students, for the betterment of the students. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it's been about 28 years for me. And everything I do is to help kids get a leg up, get every opportunity so that they can live the type of life that they want. And if you limit opportunities, that gets harder.
Question I see on all the buildings you're gonna do, and you mentioned it, ceilings and floors. What is wrong with all the ceilings and floors? I guess I don't understand.
They just need to be updated. Some of the floors, like Marine City Complex, portions of that building are 70 years old, and we've just got some heaving, and we need to level it out a little bit. When we're talking about the electrical, that all needs to be upgraded throughout our facilities.
So they'll put all that in the ceiling and drop it? So
Same
that's-
same as the technology. There's now technology being such a big part of school upgrades. There's the teaching technology that your teachers will use. There's the computers and devices that your students will use. But then there's everything in the walls and the ceilings that helps to deliver the technology. So there's three pieces of that when we're looking at the upgrades.
Okay. And what about these secure entrances and that, what, vestibules, what is
Yep.
that?
That's just reworking the front of a school building. Right now, any new school building or renovated building, you don't walk right into the facility itself. Right now, we have buzzers, so you get buzzed into the building. What these entry vestibules do, it's a two-part system. So you get buzzed into the entry area, and one of the secretaries in the office will be sitting there, and they'll greet you, have you sign in, state your business for being in the building, and then they buzz you into the school itself. You don't get buzzed right into the facility. So it's a safety feature that has become a part of school business.
I have a question. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this, but the group of individuals that are advertising for voting no, can you give me an answer as to what they consider a special interest? I see these signs through our community, and they point that out pretty
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that they're concerned about special interests. Can you
I wish.
tell me what their, I guess, opinion of a special interest is? in
I
this
wish I
situation?
could elaborate for you. I've actually reached out and asked if they could enlighten me as to what they're referencing. I do not know. I do not know what it is that the special interest that's on those signs is referring to. We've been talking to DTE, and I made that known many months ago that we were writing a grant. And we submitted our grant application. We're hoping that they'll support us in East China School District. But that was a grant application that we write grants to Cargill, we write grants to General Motors, we write grants to East China Education Foundation. So it's the same grant cycle. And I don't know if maybe me saying that we're writing a grant with DTE that might have triggered that thought. We don't know. We've asked. What it is that they're referencing, and I wish someone from that group could share with me so I could have a conversation.
But it is a grant that DTE is offering.
Yes, it's through the DTE Foundation, so it's not to the it is, I guess, the company, but they have a foundation, just like the St. Clair County Community Foundation or the East China Education Foundation. We wrote a grant to the foundation. Asking for some help with our engineering classes that we offer. We offer engineering classes at both St. Clair High and Marine City High. There's an introduction to those engineering classes that would go into our middle schools, but they're very expensive, and we need help to do that. So in order for us to offer those middle school engineering classes next year, we wrote a grant to DTE.
Thank you.
What's wrong with the drives, the parking lots, and the sidewalks?
We have some severe problems with our parking lots, our curbs, and our sidewalks. They're crumbling. We have big gaps that we've been filling in year to year, but they need to be updated, upgraded.
You should have several things, you upgrade locker rooms, remodel pool area, relocate baseball field, rebuild tennis courts.
The
replace
Marine
all the
City,
cement and drives. I mean, that's a lot of money going on just to
yeah,
frivolous as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, the Marine City tennis courts, they can't compete on them right now. They need to be upgraded. And so when I talk about offering opportunities to students, that students who play on the tennis team, I feel, should have a tennis court that they can play on. And so when we look at those things, each one of them has been evaluated as far as opportunities for our students. We need to be able to attract families to our school district. We need to be able to offer opportunities for our students who are here. We don't want them looking elsewhere. I would like them here with us.
You got another one here, remodel entrance, ticket, and concession building for increased safety. How many people we had run over out there?
We had a lady that accidentally hit the gas and went into our bathrooms there at the concession stand.
Just one person, about many
Well,
thousands go out
But
there.
we were very fortunate that there was no one else, that she didn't hit anybody. But that is a safety feature that was identified, because when you are up there getting a ticket, the cars park right behind you. And so it's not a big financial outlay, it just bumps back the entrance so that people can't park right up against folks. There's a lot of safety features that we've been exploring, as schools have changed. Schools, the way our days function. When I started in administration, doesn't look like the way it does now.
Okay. Who came up with all these? Did you have a committee, or?
It's been since 2015, when they looked at the bond that went out in 2016. They had community. I was actually the principal at Marine City High School at the time, and I served on the committee that explored that bond proposal. So that was committee work. And then after the 2016 bond did not pass, and our community said, you need to look at a more comprehensive look at this district. You have severe declining enrollment, aging buildings, and so on. The district decided to partner with the Michigan Association of School Boards to do the strategic planning process. It's a very specific and labor-intensive process of committee work and meetings that discuss the current challenges of your school district and where you want to head as a school district with your current enrollment. And so that committee, those strategic planning committees met for about 9 months, that led us to the bond steering committee for the last bond that met for another 6 months. So it's all been committee driven, and that's why for this bond proposal, it's taking in all of the feedback and all of the community concerns and desires for their school district to develop this one after a couple failed ones.
Okay. Debbie, anything? Or anymore?
Anything?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment, not a question. I would just like to commend you, Susan, and your board for the countless number of hours that you guys have put in trying to gain support for this bond. As a parent that has 3 kids have gone through the school and one going through the school, I've had an opportunity to go into other schools and other areas to find out what they have to offer their kids. And there is no doubt that Marine City is behind, way behind, on their infrastructure and on their technology. Mm-hmm. So everybody can say what they want to say, what's happened in the past and where the money is going to. The bottom line is this is for our kids. This is for our kids to gain advancement, to have the technology, to have the better tools when they go on to college. It not only affects the school district, but it affects our municipalities. Families will move into a good school district that has something to offer for their kids. If they don't have something to offer that, the kids are not coming to Marine City. So if the bond does not pass, then there's going to be repercussions following when the bond doesn't pass. And I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to be real pretty out there. So we don't want families moving out of our district, moving out of our township to go to other schools. Again, it's very important that the kids get the education that they deserve to get ready to go to college and be more prepared. We have leaks in our ceilings. The infrastructure is dwindling in the school districts. The technology is not where it should be. I mean, we had our technology here in the past year since you've come in, Cindy. I think we've done more to our township hall than they've done in that school district. So again, we've done it to better our township and to make us be more proactive. And I just feel that, and again, this is my opinion, but I feel this is something that has to happen, and it has to happen for our kids. It's not for us. I don't have a horse in this race after June. But again, I am going to continue to support the school district just to, again, to have a better education for our kids and to bring more people to our municipalities. And again, I thank you for the hard work that you guys have done.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Yeah. Oops, he has one
you.
more.
I have one more question. It says provide flexible, functional furnishings for enhanced student learning. How does that work?
Right now, the furniture that is in the buildings, I think, was probably original to the facilities. Now, in teaching and learning, the furniture, we begged, borrowed, and gotten as many tables as we can. Students now do it in a collaborative learning environment where they work together, just like you do in the business world, where people sit around a table in conference and work things through. That is how learning happens now, and especially at the secondary level. We work around tables. When they do, like our engineering classes, they don't have desks. They work almost like we did when we had wood shop, and they have the big desks, and the students problem solve around these desks and do it in a collaborative nature. And so the furniture that we need to do that at the high schools and middle schools looks differently than what we have in our classrooms now. For elementary students, and you'll see that most of our elementary classrooms, they have done this through grant work. Through the East China Education Foundation, through the St. Clair County Community Foundation, they've gotten grants for the flexible furniture in their classrooms. But the district would like to be able to provide that furniture for them, and it gives students choice. My fourth grade daughter, when she walks into her classroom, they have a choice of the seating that is most comfortable for them, or where they learn best. And the research, if you need, to read that, is astounding. How the difference that it makes for students when they feel comfortable in their learning environment. So like I said, we've done a lot of it through grant work, and that will come with us. But we'd like to supply it for all of our teachers. It gets great results for our kids.
I'd like to say, too, that I think we as community leaders and residents of the school district, that we have to support the schools. We had an incident where, we had a person come into the town and to work here, and they asked about the schools, they checked out the schools, they ended up going to another school district because this one wasn't adequate. So there's a person that's not going to invest in our school district. But I think, I know everybody says the lottery is supposed to pay for all the schools, but it doesn't. I think it's supposed to, and the money we get from the state, that excludes the buildings, right?
It's operational dollars, yes.
Operational dollars, not structures.
Not structure.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think we have to make that clear that we as taxpayers are going to have to pay for the structures.
Yep. And the reason for that two-part funding model after Proposal A in Michigan was because as a community, you own your school buildings. They belong to your communities. And the communities are, it's set up so that you pay for them, you own them, so that if they're sold or if you want to use them for a different function, they belong to you. They don't belong to, Lansing or the Michigan Department of Education. So after Proposal A, that funding model where we get paid per pupil for our operational dollars, the other half of that is the capital piece, and that is that the communities pay for through bonding for their buildings and the upgrades to their buildings. That's why you saw in that chart all those other school districts have done that. for their school buildings, because they belong and are part of our communities.
Okay.
Thank you again, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So we move on to the consent agenda. Is there anybody else? Nobody else? Everybody else is on the agenda. So there's nothing on the consent agenda this meeting. So we'll move on to disbursements. We have invoices of $26,184.03. We have accounts payable of $50,829.87. We have payroll direct deposit, $27,257.90. We have EFT payments of $9,762.94. We have a tax account of $50,344.62 for a total disbursement of $164,379.36.
I'll make a motion to pay the disbursements of $164,379.36.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we pay the bills in the sum of $164,379.36. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Boda?
Yes,
Mr. Petzala?
Yes.
Ms. Babel?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstar votes yes.
Okay, motion carries. We pay the bills. Thank you. Next on the agenda is old business, which we have none at this time. Going into new business, item 1, DPW Superintendent to attend the 2020 Great Lakes Water Infrastructure Conference. It's in your packet. Do Cindy or Blaine want to talk about any of this?
Well, I think we spoke, and I'm not sure anyone recalls when and if the this department has attended a conference. It is budgeted for every year, and this one happens to be one that seems to cover a lot of ground. It's a brand-new one, and it'll be a great opportunity for him to start networking with other professionals as well.
Okay.
Blaine, are you going to be attending all 3 days, all 3 of those classes for all 3 of them?
And of course, this is open to anyone, elected officials, so if you find something of interest, there's one-day attendance fees as well. Just let us know, and we can also consider registering others.
Does
I'll
anybody
make a
have any?
motion that we allow Blaine to attend the 2020 Great Lakes Water Infrastructure Conference with all necessary expenses paid.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and support to allow our DPW superintendent to attend the infrastructure conference. Is there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock, yes. Ms. Babel?
Yes.
Mr. Petzala?
Yes.
Mr. Boda?
Yes,
Mr. Simons?
Yes. Who seconded that one?
I did.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business item 2. Estimates for Point Drive sewer line repair and replacement.
On January 10th, I received a call reporting a sinkhole on Point Drive at 5616. We went and checked it out, and there was a sinkhole right between the sanitary sewer main and a storm drain, a buried storm drain culvert. So to see if it was the sewer main that was causing the sinkhole, we had the camera come out to go into the main to video it. And the camera couldn't make it to this tap in particular because of the debris on the bottom of the pipe. So we had to get it jetted out, and then they were able to get the camera in there to look at it. Once we got to the tap, we could see the visible crack where water and small amounts of sand are filtering through the broken tap and creating the sinkhole. Once we looked at that tap, we went down to the next one, and that tap there is completely underwater. There is a sag in the sewer main, approximately 130 feet long, and the sag is over 10 inches below the rest of the pipe. It's a 10-inch pipe, and even with a jetter trying to pull the water through to draw the water down, it was still underwater. So that tells us it's well over a 10-inch sag in the main. And as we get all these sags in the main, when the pipe is going down, all your grease on top of the water will build up on top of the pipe and slowly work its way down, blocking the top of the pipe. In the bottom of the sag, all the solids that are flowing along will pool up in the bottom of that sag, so it's building up from the bottom. So we got both directions closing up the pipe over time. So as a maintenance issue, we've got several areas that have to get cleaned out regularly. After looking at the cost of doing of lining these taps, the broken taps, a price for the lining was $21,540. And that was for multiple 6-inch liners to be put in these service lines to block up the holes and the cracks and seal it up. But just by doing that, we are fixing the service lines, but we're not fixing those sags in the pipe. And long-term, every year, we'll be going in there twice a year with the jetter to have it jetted out and cleaned. So versus, instead of just spending the money on replacing those on lining those taps, I would like to consider replacing the pipe. Replacing that 130 feet of pipe with the 2 taps and eliminating that belly, that sag in the pipe.
So would that be option 1, and option 2, is that what you're referring to, Blaine?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of what they have?
No.
Oh, okay, so I've laid it out, so option 1 is the repair and option 2 is the replace.
Okay. Option 2 would be the replace.
Yeah.
I also looked at the overall the sewer system in that general area, and from the Point Drive lift station to 5731 River Road, there is 1,637 feet of sewer main. In that short stretch, there is 7 locations with a sag in the pipe of over 70%. So this isn't just an isolated incident, but if we can get rid of one of these sags at a time, we're going to improve the overall system.
Real quick, are those sags just due to settlement?
Yes.
Pipes just settling?
It's
So
just settled. The mains weren't bedded properly,
Okay.
which in turn, those risers weren't bedded properly, which we had all the problems on Point Drive with the cracked risers.
So it may continue to settle even further.
It may continue. At this time, I'm recommending that we get bids on replacing that 130 feet of sewer main
With 2 taps.
with the 2 taps included.
Because we have prior, north of there,
Is that
we've
option
replaced 2 or 3.
We have done, I believe, 5 taps now to the north of this location. And that is at a cost of approximately $25,000 per tap to dig down and rebuild each of those risers back up. And then the restoration.
This is super deep too, like 18
It's,
feet.
yep, it's about 18 feet deep there. It's really wet ground. There would be dewatering involved in the replacement process. But it would be a good project.
I mean, with our high water conditions, is now the time to do it?
It can be done. I don't foresee in the near future it getting any better. And also with these sags, every time there's a sag in that pipe, it takes more pressure upstream to force the water and the solids through there. So by the end of the line over towards 5731 River Road, the manhole there always has a surcharge of water in there, as it just needs the pressure to push through all those low spots, as this part is a gravity system. on its way to the lift station.
Does anybody have any questions for Blaine, or
Let me quickly point out, there's a typo in the cover sheet, if you were to read
150?
or it should be 130 feet,
Yeah.
not 150.
Yeah, I seen that.
That's all.
I see that the repair was through Michigan Pipe Inspection, and the replace was through Murray Underground.
Yes.
Would Michigan Pipe not give you a quote to replace it?
No, they don't do excavation.
They don't do that,
They do all
okay.
the trenchless solutions.
But on the other hand, our ordinance calls for over $10,000 that we get competitive bidding.
Mhm.
And you've only got a quote from Murray Underground?
Yes, no, the quote from Murray Underground for the replacement is just a budget figure.
Budget.
It's not an actual quote. That's just a price for us to look at for the replacement of that section.
So essentially, we would go out for bid, and then he would bring those back, and you would
Yes.
make a decision.
Okay, so you just want to you want a decision today whether we want to replace it or repair
Which
it?
direction?
Yes. Which direction would the board like me to
What kind
have?
of budget do we have in that, Larry?
Well, it'll probably have to come out of capital, I would think,
I believe so.
yeah, which we have money in our capital fund.
Would this come
And
out?
this is another thing that leads us down the road with asset management. We will have money in the asset management fund to do these things when our goal would be to replace a whole section of sewer, not just 130 feet, you know, we would do the whole 2,000 feet, you know. It would be a bigger project. If we didn't have all the money, we would probably have to bond some of it or something like that.
We're looking at option 2, is that what we're looking at?
I think I like option 2. I mean, if it helps us get rid of the sag and,
In the long term, option 2 is the best
I
option.
mean, we're
in my
gonna spend
opinion.
22,000, so it's another 51,000, and we already spent $25,000 to dig up one of the risers and repair it, so I mean,
There's no guarantee it's not gonna settle more and have the same problem again.
I agree. But we would probably rebed it, wouldn't we?
Yes.
No, and the replacement, we would. But I mean, if we were to just repair it,
Yeah.
that'd be back to the same
Right,
issue we're having in a
I
year
see what you're
later.
saying. And your agreement with the replacing the section,
Yeah. I mean, why put a Band-Aid on something when we can repair it?
right. So you're looking for a motion one way or the other, either repair or replace the
Yes, or
sagging sewer
replace
main.
and see quotes.
Okay, does anybody have any input to it, or? So what we're looking for is to make the decision to do it, and then we'll go out and get the
Yes,
quotes on
And then
it.
I'll go out and get quotes for the project.
It may be more or less.
Correct.
It's usually never less, but maybe more.
I have one question. In those other areas that you've noticed, are there any others that you would deem, I mean, other than settling, that are urgent? I mean,
Yes.
is there a benefit to trying to do
To-
more?
Yeah,
I mean, usually there's a cost savings if they're mobilizing once.
Yes, I think there would be some savings, but the locations of all these sagged pipes, they're not ideal in any means. They're all on the
front yard,
riverside.
Except this one's on the west side
Yes,
of
this
Point
one's
Drive.
on the west side of Point Drive. It's
This
actually
was just
the
north of the
easiest
bridge.
place to get
Is where
to.
they're at.
Okay.
The other ones would be from the bridge south, where we have sags.
Yes.
How far down, Blaine, are the sags from the 130 feet we're going? I mean, do you know? Do you have any idea?
From the starting point, it's about 40 feet until the pipe is starting to pitch down real steep.
Okay,
And then by the time it gets the whole 130 feet at the next manhole, it's back up to the correct height. The manholes haven't sank any, it's just the pipe in between each point.
is it possible to get a quote for
Well, we will,
130
if
and ask them for what would it cost if we win another
Just don't want to favor.
That's
Would we get
possible.
a linear foot price? Is that what you get, or do they would probably all be different?
Or ask them what the break would be if we went, if we were
I
to
could,
go
I could
further.
absolutely do that. I could look at each of these other sags and get an estimate on the length of pipe that is sagged.
Right.
And just put these as individual projects and see what we could do to group them together.
Right, and see if they give you any kind of quantity discount, I guess is what you're looking for, but.
I want to make the system run on its own better in the long run.
And that's what we have all.
Every
that's-
time we jet these lines out, it's a couple $1,000s to bring the truck out to jet it out and clean it. And as they age and we're getting more buildup, we'll be cleaning it more frequently.
See, that's another cost. Twice a year, we have to jet them out, that section. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to do one or the other?
I'll make a motion that we instruct Blaine to receive bids on option 2 for the replacement. But if they could give us an itemized breakdown of potential other projects that you'd recommend, so we can at least see that.
Okay.
I'll support.
Did we support? Okay. So we're really not spending any money, so we don't need a roll call. So, does everybody understand what we're asking Blaine to do? Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Nice presentation, Blaine.
Thank you.
You made it clear. All right, moving on to item new business 3, 2020 IRS reimbursement rates. This is your mileage.
Up in half a cent.
It went down.
Yeah. So what was the mileage rate for 19?
575.
Yeah, it's a half a cent less. And that's just what we've done every year. We've adopted the standard IRS deduction rate on the mileage. And what this is mileage if people drive their cars to and from whatever you use your personal vehicle. This is what a flat rate per mile.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the 2020 standard IRS mileage reimbursement rate of .575.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we adopt the 2020 IRS reimbursement rate of, what was it, 57.5 cents?
575.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business item 4, St. Clair County Council on Aging funding request. Cindy put the history here with which we've done for the last 5 years on your,
Last 3 years, we've given $1,000.
yeah, I think, yeah, that's what we've been
We should
giving.
do it
and-
again this year.
No. And what this is we're allowed by our statutes that we can give to the Council on Aging. So we give them $1,000 every year for their work that they do with our residents and the senior citizens in the Council on Aging, which it's, I think, bang for your buck, it's a good thing. So does somebody want to make Don, did you make that into a motion, or?
I make a motion that we give $1,000 to the Council on Aging.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a support to give the Council on Aging $1,000 for this year, 2020. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock, yes. Ms. Babel?
Yes.
Mr. Petsalas?
Yes.
Mr. Boda?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We give the $1,000 check to them. Moving on to new business, item 5, flooded lot on Point Drive. This was requested by Mr. Horn, who is not here right now, but the residents that are complaining are here, so we can talk about it.
I have pictures too, if you'd like, if the rest of the board would like to see pictures. I know you've been out there, but,
Yeah, I was there Friday and took some, but,
we can't even walk into our yard
right.
without we're in the.
I'm sorry, could I have your name and address?
Sure. Mary Davis, 5531 Pike Drive.
That's next to our Smiley Smith used to live.
Yeah.
There isn't an address on the lot.
No, just trying to walk into our yard after it rained. That was on January 26th. We had to wear waders to get into our house. And last year, because of the stagnant water that was in there, my husband's got 6 days in the hospital here because he picked up a virus out of that water.
Well, when I talked with you, I reached out to the, I did a lot of phone calls. I called emergency management, Mr. Justin Westmiller. Asked him, what can we do? What does he advise us to do? I requested that the health department test the water. I have their answer here. I'll read it to you. Just got word from the health department. They didn't come out and test it, but this is what they're telling me. Just got word from the health department that all groundwater is naturally contaminated. So his claim would be false that there's a virus. It doesn't say virus, would be false, but that's what I asked. I said, it's got a virus in it. Would you test it? In that it would be no more dangerous than any other flood water. This is why we always preach wearing personal protective equipment during high water situations. I hope this helps. This is in regards Justin Westmiller, St. Clair County Director of Emergency Management. My question to him was, by email, was, would you please have the health department test the water on the lot between 5531 Point and 5541 Point? It was reported by the township supervisor that there is a virus in the water. The legal description of the lot, and I gave that to him to make sure they got the right. This is what I got back Friday before I went home. Well, in fact, I was already gone home.
I have a letter from his doctor that I would like to share with the entire board also. No, probably not, but if you'd like to pass those down to us, or if you would like me to, I can.
I mean, that's kind of reinforcing what they're saying. All floodwaters or standing waters are contaminated. I mean, that's what he's saying.
Correct.
So when that rock is not froze, I can't go near the property. How do I go up there without fear? He told me next time this will probably kill me.
Well, we're trying to come up with some kind of solution. I don't know. I mean, it says you shouldn't be in these environments, including standing water.
That rock has flooded for how many years, Larry?
Yeah, but when it wasn't flooded, it was when the water was low. I
It
mean,
flooded every year, even when the water is low, it floods.
Oh, yeah, when it rains.
yeah. Was it like that before you
That's all
purchased it, or
rainwater in those pictures.
was this like this before you purchased it, or you didn't purchase it, or? I don't know. Well, let me read what this Justin Westmiller too. I tried to take good notes when he was talking. He said, this is him I'm quoting. Request the water tested by the health department, and I did that. This would be what they call unimproved land. The land on both sides is improved. This is original. what the grade was there way back when? I'm guessing, I don't
It
know.
is.
I don't know, but this is what he's
I
saying.
grew up there.
These are the things he was throwing out to me. He said this could be a civil case. In other words, you would have to do that. He said, there's nothing we can do. The water's going up 9 to 12 inches.
Yeah, we understand that.
Oh, that's good.
It's the
This,
it's the rainwater.
It's that filled up with rainwater.
he said, tell everybody they should sandbag their house, and we can't stop the river. And we know all these things. These are things we've been preaching here at the township.
So we sandbag the house and then we can't get to the house.
Yeah, and it's all coming out of that lot.
And then we're flooding.
When it
the
rains.
house, and
Look
then
at the pictures, you can see the track. where
You know,
running right over.
it
2
comes and
years
fills
ago,
up
I
our
had the
property,
township
And then we fill up the neighbors.
call the
It just
owners
keeps
of
right
that
on
property
going.
to
And
put
we're
the
pumping.
weeds in the
That's
grass.
just for the rain, that's not river water.
It's rainwater from January 26th.
That big rain that we have. And this goes on and on and on, year after year after year.
I know. I called Eagle too, which is the DEQ. That's their new name is Eagle. I don't know if you're aware of that. I had a talk with Katie Childs. I got her number, I just got it Friday, but I got it in my office. And I asked her, if this lady wanted to fill that lot, is there a problem?
That's the house next.
And she didn't know. She said we'd have to, she'd have to apply for a permit or whatever, or if she even needed a permit. I didn't get a lot of satisfaction out of talking to them. She said, is there a seawall there? I said, yes, there's a seawall there.
She knows about.
Well, she said, usually where we come in is if there's a wall, if they want to put a wall in. I said, well, there's a wall there, but it's all undermined on the backside.
There's a lot that Warren wants to buy.
But that property is never taken care of. They don't cut the shit up the
I'm
grass.
not sure.
You know, she cut the grass one time last summer, and we pumped that 24/7. There was no reason why that
This
couldn't have been.
is a
But
site.
we had to get a hold of
Should be
you,
covered
and
with about a
you
foot
got it
of dirt.
taken care of to where the grass finally got cut.
This
We
property
treated
is-
it for mosquitoes, he's gone to
terrible.
the health department and gotten the donuts.
Have you ever talked to the property owner?
Yeah,
Yeah, have you?
I just talked to her Friday. She said she has no way of contacting you. She doesn't have your number. I didn't give your number out. So, I mean, this is a big deal here. I actually called our attorneys. I'm still waiting. While I had her on the phone, we went through some of the ordinances they have here in the township. I asked for this, which I just got tonight before the meeting, was the complaint that I asked you to turn in, but if you were unavailable, I understand that. But, and we can look at this too. I was hoping Mr. Horn would be here too to help us, but I'm sorry that he can't make it tonight. I also reached out to the
So the
homeowner,
people that own the Heather House
and
about that.
I had a lengthy conversation with her. And she said she's already tried to contact a couple of contractors, but nobody's calling her back about filling the lot. So she's willing to do something like that. Same with the sandbags, she's willing to go in there and fix the sandbags up too. So, but I understand, she doesn't live in the area, she doesn't know contractors in the area. I told her I could reach out and give her some more contractors' names. She just stopped at some on 26 Mile Road, and I don't know if they just blew her off or what, but she got no satisfaction from them.
On that property for years.
She's owned it probably longer than you've had it, what you got, right? You've always been the owner of the property? I thought it was your mother's.
yeah, well, I grew up there,
Yeah.
Family.
yeah. It's my.
But I mean, the both properties were owned for a long time in the family.
Right, she bought that property after,
After you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're not in Smiley's old house.
pardon me?
You're not in Smiley's old house.
No, next door.
No, we're right next door though, there's.
They're on the other
Miley Smith used to live, and there's a vacant lot, and then there's our house.
Maybe they ought to bring some sand in there and dump a foot of sand in there or something, from the river to the road. Cover it up.
I agree.
Ice is right out to the road. Right
I
from
mean, if
the-
you look at the pictures, you see what, they're right to the road.
Yeah, it goes right to the road.
Right, yeah, I was there yesterday, Friday, and took pictures of my own, and it goes right to the road. But we're trying to say, what can we do as a township? What ordinance is she violating? The word nuisance, we do not have a nuisance ordinance. That was brought up. We don't have a nuisance ordinance. As far as running water, when it rains, I mean, the water runs on everybody's property, but you're saying it's specifically coming out of the lot.
It's a mess down there.
What's that?
It's almost crotch deep.
Yeah, maybe you should go to the,
Seawall.
so we can, but the people out there are not gonna be able to hear you from sitting there.
That piece of property is a mess.
Well, I understand that. I guess my perspective as a township supervisor is, what does this board want me to do? We can't force the lady to fill the lot, I don't believe, but
Well, down by the, like alongside of the two houses there, that water is almost crotch deep. It's not like it's
Right,
6
right.
inches deep.
It's more than a
That
foot
water's
deep, yeah.
deep.
it's 2 or 3 feet.
And it's like that all summer long usually. And when it does dry up and go down a little bit, the stink is terrible. And we've been putting up with it because there's nothing can be done. I would think it's time that something should be able to be done.
What
What-
are you suggesting we do?
I don't know.
Well, that's
I'm
where
not,
we're at.
I'm not in your position. If this property was next to your house, something would be done.
No, I don't agree with that.
I do.
Okay, well, that's your opinion, and I'm entitled to mine.
I mean, we've put up with this for years, tried to be nice to her, and she don't do anything to take care of the property. You have to send her a letter every time to get it
She hired a contractor, I
mowed.
think, a local landscaper to cut the grass. And you say
Once.
they've only cut it once?
Once in like 4 years,
Okay,
because it's too wet.
right.
None of
Well, we
these
have the high
people,
water issue, and that's what's driving this. I mean,
rain in that lot. You can have that lot bone dry. That was proven last year there. With the high water, that lot was pumped out, bone dry. The first rain, there was over a foot of water in it.
but we didn't get a foot of rain though, right?
No, but we got, it come up a foot in a lot.
I mean, it's gotta be running in from someplace else too. It's not just what's falling on that lot,
There's no gutters like she says it is.
yeah. And the lot to the south is actually higher too, so, higher than your property.
Yeah. Well, the water in that lot was right over to that woman's porch.
We haven't had any complaints from her?
She says, nothing can be done.
What is the board, what's the input here?
I just write a letter and tell her to put a foot of sand in that thing. At least cover it up.
Do we have the ability to do that?
Well, that's what I'm asking. How
Have you
does
looked
the
at
board
filling your
want to-
property and raising your property? I mean,
Still not
from the
gonna take
photos,
care
I'm
of-
assuming that most of that water,
It's not gonna take care of the stench and.
well, I
the
understand that,
city
but
water.
part of your complaint is that water is filling up and it's
And it's still gonna be there.
it's going into your yard.
If that
Even-
water
even
stays there, I will not be able to go to the property.
To your property.
Yeah.
My doctor warned me, he says next time, he says it probably will be critical. I'm down to 39% of my oxygen, my lungs. It's not a good way to live.
Well, all I'm asking from the board is give me direction of what direction. I don't feel it's my decision. I should be making the decision what to do with
I
that.
don't think it's your decision.
We're
either.
asking
You know.
for your help.
You know, I mean, I've been over there, I've asked her to cut it, and
Get a
You did,
permit.
yeah.
the sandbagging, that all went away
Yes, you have to go
too.
to the DEQ.
Um,
You have to go to the DEQ.
I'm not a sandbagger. I mean, not that, to go there and sandbag it for her, that's not my job. But we thought we did the right thing, and evidently, we didn't, so.
I mean, we have it within our ordinance regarding grass cutting. We've
We
done
did,
that.
and we got her, and she got over there and had them cut.
Okay.
That's the time they're talking about.
But
So
in
there's no
terms
other-
of an undeveloped lot with a water issue,
There's no ordinance.
there's no ordinance or anything in place that.
I had our
to
building
actually
inspector
enforce
look
that.
at it. He can't find any. There's a couple things maybe.
I mean, typically, we deal with developed lots. If I was to build a house, make it higher, and I'm draining water onto my neighbor's property, then there's an issue that we can enforce that.
Right.
But if it's an undeveloped lot with no home on it.
And that's what they're saying. Everybody else built up on both
I know,
sides
it's
of it.
naturally the
Not
low
used,
spot of
but
the
everybody
neighborhood
did.
right now, is from what it sounds like. Everybody is slowly draining into that one spot.
Yeah.
Have you tried to contact an attorney and just have an attorney send her a letter?
We're in the process.
And have you tried talking to her?
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
she got the adjourned.
You don't even wanna know what she told them, so.
I would think if we just start the first stages and just send a letter and see what the response to the letter is before, I mean, you never want to get into litigation, but maybe a letter might, if he writes a letter that you have, 20 days to take care of your lot or something like that, and then, follow it up with something like that. I think what our problem is, and I've talked to Larry about it, is that we have to have something in our ordinance or something in our guidelines that we're going to be able to enforce, to force her to do something. And according to our building inspector and our attorney and our code enforcer, we don't have anything to sink our teeth into where we can obligate her to do that.
So you can't have someone, tell someone to take care of their property then?
It's a vacant property, it's undeveloped.
So that means I can't go to the property all summer.
Well, that's what I'm trying, that would be a civil type thing, that's what I'm thinking, your attorney your attorney would be able to sink his teeth into it much stronger than we would be able to. We could, again, send her letters of recommendations and this and that, but is that right, Larry? We really can't
We can
force
have our
her.
attorney send her a letter too, but we have to have something to back it up. We just can't send a letter and say, fill your lot, and then she takes us to court and then we lose. I mean, then that's not good. And our attorneys don't want to go and do stuff that they want to see an ordinance or something. What is the violation? Now, maybe when I give this, it might help. I wish I would have had this earlier, but we couldn't do that. She's supposed to be getting back with me. I thought she'd get back with me today, but she didn't. Looking it up, but, now that we have something in writing here, we can look at that.
And if we raise our lot, then we drown the McKellars to the north, and then it would also go towards John.
Yeah. Well, it's a never-ending battle, is what it is. And
If hers wasn't flooding over on ours, it wouldn't be going, McKellar's floods too. I mean, that water comes right over ours and goes right to McKellar's.
yeah,
We're not the only one.
right.
But we're pumping too.
Well, I guess to solve what we're doing here now, we'll have to wait and see what our attorney thinks of this, and then, I mean, if you want to come back to the next meeting, we can talk about it under old business. I'll talk to Carrie again, and give her the contractors that I think could do that. I don't know if they can do it with the water standing in there, or they would have to pump it out, or whatever, but that's not up to us, that's up to her. But if we can make her do that, I say then we have to do what we have to do. I mean, to help you out, but again, like Herb says, it's an unimproved lot. Everybody's built up around her now. She's there, she's in a hole. And she's had it for how many years? Not as long as you've had yours, but
1964.
64? Yeah. So it's, I mean, I think Mr. Horn even talked about when his dad was doing something on the river, they used to pull in there with a boat or something. It's always been low there, so I mean, but now we're built up on both sides of it. I don't know, like Herb says, it's an undeveloped lot.
I don't even know if you can, depending on the elevation, where do you set in the water? If the lot is that low and the water level's that high in the river, even if you were to fill it, it still has to maintain, you can't drain onto the neighbor's property. So it's still going to be a low point, and if the water levels are that high, where do you send the water?
I mean, our ordinance calls for a swale,
Right.
between two properties. When you build a new house, you're supposed to swale it, and then the water's supposed to run to the river or to a ditch or something. It won't work there. I don't know what's gonna work. I'm afraid if she fills it up, then you're gonna become that new hole. You know, you and the Kellers and Mr. Horn. You know, I mean, we gotta watch what we wish for here, because it might not be what we want. That's why I think we gotta look at all our avenues before we make a decision on what we're gonna do here. I know you're impatient to get there, and you can't get to your house, but,
Yeah, just put on boots,
yeah, right,
but he can't get around it.
right.
Not if that's thought.
Yeah. And maybe, you know, talking to the homeowner, and maybe you could reach out to her, if you want me to give her your number, she'd like to talk to you. What I mentioned,
We'll try calling her again, but
yeah,
She went belligerent, I just hung up on her.
yeah, okay. Well, let me get back with her and see if she's willing to do some of this stuff, and like I say, Eagle don't really know if she needs a permit or not. I'm like, I thought you had to have a permit, anything within 500 feet of the river.
yes.
And this girl's telling me, well, maybe not, maybe they can just fill it, and I'm like, oh my, that is not how we've been living around here.
Right,
You know, we've had to get permits,
for everything.
but she says, well, I'd have to, you know, we'd have to have an application for it, and then we could, I think the Eagle is really backed off. I don't know if they have the people now that they had before, but I think they're overwhelmed with this high water. And when we get 9 inches of water, if this is what they're talking about, it's not gonna be good for anybody along the river, even the people that are up high now. And if it gets higher than that, I mean, we're lucky we got a mild winter and we don't have an ice jam yet. I think we had most of our ice jams in February is when we had them,
Well, last year it was January,
so.
so maybe we'll be lucky this year. We won't have one.
And maybe Mr. Horn will be here and he can have some input into it too, but, I don't know what else to tell you.
You can see it right out of his window.
What's that?
You can see that lot right out his window.
Yeah, I know it. So, I mean, I don't know does the board have what they want me to do or direction to go? Do you wanna just do what you do, table until the next meeting?
Well, I'd like to see what the attorney has to say about.
I wanna see
writing
that
of
too, about
see
what she has to
if we
say
can-
about this.
And is West Miller gonna send the health department there to test that water? Or is that?
I asked, that was what I asked, to have him, he said he was in control of that, he could have, they said they're not gonna come and test it, because it's no more contaminated than any water that's flood water in St. Clair County. Because you said virus, and that's the word I used. I used it in my report. That
Would it
there
help
was
to
a
forward
virus.
that letter from McLaren on to Justin? Would that help, stating that, I mean, the doctor says that
Well,
there
we
may be
could,
an
yeah.
issue.
I mean, if you don't mind,
No, that's fine.
and this will go along to the attorney too, but, like I say, it could end up being a civil matter, I don't know, but, I mean, I would like to help you get it filled, and it's been a problem for a lot of years.
Years ago, we tried to buy it. She absolutely wouldn't even hear of it. She was gonna build on it.
And that's the same story she told me, so, she's gonna build on
And
it.
she was gonna sell it.
No, it doesn't sound like she wants to sell it.
Laura, I would like to see then if we could table this matter again to get Don back next year and wait to get an answer from Justin and also get an answer from our attorney. And then hopefully we can have some kind of good news for you that, you know, they'll back us in some way where we can do something.
Would DEQ do anything?
That's what I call it.
DEQ.
They're called Eagle now. It's
Yeah, I
not
know, they
DEQ.
just had to put more letters on it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that would be my concern, Larry, is with DEQ because, or Eagle, whatever they're calling themselves now. Because when anything is done on any property that's along the river, they have to be involved in it, and they have to know exactly where, if they fill it with anything, they have to know where that dirt's coming from, everything, because they don't allow any,
Well, maybe I
You
could get
know.
this person to come to our next meeting and give us some insight in that way, you know. She sounded very nice, that anything that she could do, so I could reach out to her and see if she would come here and maybe give you some insight of what you can do too, you know, on your property. But,
That would be helpful.
and then I'll forward this letter from McLaren on to our attorney and the complaint and to our building department code enforcers. They'll look at this complaint, and maybe between the three of them, they can come up with something. I don't know. I mean, and I'll reach out to Carrie again too with the, I mean, it's not much, it's not what you wanted to have us tell her to fill the lot, you know.
Whatever you can do to
But we don't want to get into being that type of people that are forcing people to do what, on their private property,
whatever
you
you
know.
can do to help would be great.
Okay. And if not, then it's going to have to be a civil matter, and our attorney will relay that to us. In my conversation with our legal counsel, they said it could be a civil matter too. But I don't know if that's faster than what we're doing or what, but that costs you money too, you know, to get an attorney. Well, let's do those 3 or 4 things, and then we'll have you come back. So then you're making a motion to table this?
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we table this till the next meeting, which would be the 17th, I think it is?
Yes.
February 17th. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to new business, item 6, the aerial imaging GIS. I handed it out to you. Cindy, do you want to, maybe explain a little bit about
Yeah.
what it is?
Sure. So, every 5 years, if you've ever gone on the county's satellite GIS website, you'll see East China Township. We use it quite a bit. DPW uses it. Assessing uses it. It's an aerial image of our township. You can zoom in to a certain level, and you can, we could see what, you know, is happening at various pieces of property, and they're usually a 5-year turnover. So right now, the county is doing a 5-year update of their maps. There's a couple companies that do this, and if you look at the map that I've included, they've gone ahead with this MySail. They're gonna do all of our kind of southeast Michigan region this year, so we're included in that. So back in November, the county invited all of the townships and cities to a meeting where they presented these options, with the 12-inch being the standard at no additional cost. It's what this company does as part of their aerial imaging to provide to the state of Michigan. But while they're up there, they also offer a 6-inch resolution and a 3-inch resolution. And I've got some samples, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I've asked the county to give us some ideas of, well, what is the difference? And as you may recall, we got a grant from SEMCOG late last year that's going to be inputting all of our assets into a database for our GIS. And what this will do is it'll partner with that. It'll give us a really high-resolution base map. So once we get all of those points, we'll actually be able to see an aerial view of what's going on in our township, so we can continue to do really solid asset management planning. So I've included the cost for the 3-inch, which is what I would recommend going up to. And that's simply a higher resolution camera. When they're doing there's 12 squares for our township. When they're up there, they'll be using the higher resolution camera for the 3-inch impairment. So here's
It's
an
really,
example.
when you look at the pictures, it
Yeah.
really shows what we're,
So here
you've probably
is,
seen this stuff in there.
pass this down. These are two, it's interesting because, and I'm sorry, I'm not at the mic right now. Some communities within St. Clair County, there's a road, and right between the road is one township and a city. And if you pay for the upgrade, that line is gonna stay. The township that doesn't pay for the upgrade, you're gonna visually see the difference. And you can see Birchville versus Fort Gratiot. Fort Gratiot has a 3-inch resolution and Birchville has the 12. And you can see that in both of these here if you want to.
Do they provide us with an electronic copy?
You will own it, correct. That was my question too.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get all the files, and I'll send this one down. This one is actually showing the trend, kind of transitioning from what a 12-inch looks like, which would be the standard, to the 6-inch, and this is all basically the exact same location with a flyover with the 3 different types of cameras. And it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because once they do the flyover, we can't, unless we were to contract our own flyover, which would be very expensive.
Do you know what format this is in?
I don't,
Are we able to use, for instance, our DPW to
Yes.
take measurements off of it, do you know?
yeah, so this will be the good part. We're also working, and probably within the next, not next meeting, but probably the following meeting, we'll be suggesting and asking to purchase some asset management software. And this will, again, partner with that. So our maps will match what's out there, and then we can continue to put those data points in, and they'll be extremely accurate with this 3-inch resolution.
Then the other thing too, Cindy, was the county is willing to pick up part of the cost.
Right, so the reason that we're able to kind of jump on this is they're doing this at the county level, and they're soliciting every community for what interest level they have. They're hoping to get the entire county, to get a high-resolution mapping, aerial imaging. So right now, they were going to split the cost with the 6-inch, or that cost would be applied to the upgrade to the 3-inch.
3 and 6.
So it's about, they're going to be paying into it about 17% of the cost, the county is.
And also, this is not, it hasn't been passed by the county board yet.
Correct. They need a commitment from us so that they can kind of put their whole package together and then present it to their commission at the county.
There's nowhere in our done deal.
And this wouldn't have to be paid for until November, and it's $2,600.
Right.
So the reason ours is so high here, because I was trying to figure out why it's so high, it's because it's a 3-inch resolution as opposed to a 6.
Right, if you look at the table there, it's based on,
Because you see, everybody else pretty much has 6s. There's only a few 3s. No one has 12.
That's what's-
well, the 12 is the standard. So that's just the flyover that then they'll have the imagery to the state, and then
Right.
these are buy-ups. So the communities that are interested in the 6, or the 3-inch are in that column right
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just wondering, because when I saw it 26, I didn't realize the 3 and the 6. I was like, why are we so high compared to everybody else? But it's because we're going 3 and everybody else is at 6.
Right, but you'll see the other communities that are Fort Gratiot, Fort Huron Township, and Algonac, Marine City, Marysville,
St. Clair.
Fort Huron, St. Clair.
Yep.
So all the surrounding, fortunately
Right.
for us, it'll be that whole area around us will all have that same 3-inch resolution. And we have a lot more infrastructure and a lot more things to look at than some of the rural townships would
Well, it
need
goes
to
by the
see.
square footage or whatever. I
Right.
mean, that's why Marine Cities is so low, because
Right.
they have a smaller footprint than we do.
Right.
The city's St. Clair. And we have a smaller footprint than Fort Gratiot. And this comes around every 5 years, so with this data would be good for 5 years then, right?
The imagery, if you go into the GIS now, the date is 2014, the St. Clair.
And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get all our, in Blaine's department, all his catch basins, all his shut-offs, we're trying to get them all marked. This goes down to that 3 inches means 3 square inches, isn't it?
Correct.
Which you can zoom into.
So as I kind of pointed out, I don't know if in the 12-inch, you might be able to make out a manhole cover, but the 3-inch, you could see the shut-off valve in the driveway.
Yeah. And where will the funding come out of this? Just the general fund, or?
I have it, I think. Yeah, it would be. You know, part of this is that asset management program for us that we're still working on putting a number on and like 5 to 6 year planning for that.
I think this would be valuable to have when we really get into that asset management even deeper than we are now.
And it was brought to me on Friday because the county finally got all of their pieces put together, and they realized that the contractor needs to have an answer because they're gonna start scheduling their flights. And so their Board of Commissioners meeting has to be put in front of that, so
Is
unfortunately.
this done with satellites or airplanes?
Airplanes.
Really?
You don't get rid of the clothes pretty soon, they'll never take a picture.
Yeah. Okay,
And I'll make a motion that we approve the manager to, or the supervisor to sign the agreement for the 3-inch digital imagery for a cost to East China Township of $2,634.26.
I'll support.
okay, we have a motion, we have a support to, and this won't have to be paid for, but we're approving the funding right now until November.
Right, when you sign the agreement, it's binding,
Yeah,
the commitment.
so, okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Everybody understands what we're doing? Roll call, please.
Mr. Boda?
Yes.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes.
Ms. Dable?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock, yes. Mr. Simons?
Yes, motion carries, we buy the imaging. All right, that concludes our new business announcements. I only have one, the road commission meeting that we meet with the road commissioners will be February 26th from 6:30 to 8:30 at night at the road commission. I don't know if anybody, have you ever attended it?
What was it on that?
February 26th, from 6:30 to 8:30. That's for board members. So, it's not open to the public, I don't
Yeah,
believe.
it's open to the public.
So, that's where they sit down with the engineering and the road, or the DPW, the finance, and tells you, what monies they're giving us. It's pretty informative, but I've went every year, so. But that's all I have under announcements. Moving on to member comments, Mr. Pasales.
I don't have anything this evening, Larry, thank you.
Mr. Boda?
I have a couple of things, just to make you aware that as of February 12th, I'll be going into the hospital. I should be in there for about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, and I have one other thing I'd like to ask a question on. On a check register for East China Township between 11620 and 12920.
What was that now?
Cash register for East China Township between 11620 and 12920. What is the check that was written for Semcog for $1,000?
I believe it's that from the Water Authority, was that the one? No, they wrote that one.
Not perfect.
It's right here, I just read it. I just read it, Don.
I don't know what it's for, I'm trying to find out why we sent them $1,000.
I can get you that answer. I thought I had it in this check run here when I was reading it.
If you find out, could you give me a call at home and let me know?
Sure. Maybe I'll tell you right now.
Check date was one.
I seen it in here, I looked it up. It's check number
34687.
34687.
Right.
I'll tell you right now.
This is the designated management agency fee. Right? So let me get the details about that.
Part of this is China's bill too. It's not, we're
It's-
giving the 1,000 and then we back bill to, Sewer and Water Authority per attached water, $600, 120 hours billed to China, 78 point some percent.
This is for $1,000, this check.
Yeah, that's the 1,000 total, I'm trying to,
That's why I keep saying that every time you want something.
we have to have this with
Yeah,
SEMCOG.
so,
No,
so
we
this
don't
was,
have to have anything. with
Okay,
SEMCOG.
well, we'll let you handle that then.
We
Here's
don't
the
have to
bill.
have anything.
Designated management agents charged for this period.
I don't have anything with me, but I can certainly share that with everyone. This is, if you kind of compare it to the watershed group that we belong to, there are state mandates that we can't get out of, and rather than having to manage all of that as a small township with small staff, we join a collaborative. And for the watershed, for example, the collaborative is the NPDES, MS4, and so we pay an annual fee. I believe that one is $875 for us
Correct, that's
to,
by population.
for, and it's a similar situation, but this is as a water agency. If you own and operate a sewer plant, a water plant, and have any transmission lines, there are obviously mandates, and some of them are pretty extensive for us to wrap our heads around and be compliant without having some sort of
So they
support
go out and
system.
write, they want you to write a check for $1,000.
So what this is SEMCOG, just like the St. Clair County Health Department, is our kind of collaborative manager for the watershed. SEMCOG has taken the role of collaborative manager for the water infrastructure
Need SEMCOG.
collaborative, that all the communities that in the area participate in. Otherwise, you would have to manage it on your own and know all of the mandates and make sure that you're compliant and you're not missing deadlines and your training and all of that is up to par. So in the past, I believe it was a flat $250. It was renewed every year, and this year they did a strategic study of exactly what it entails with all the new mandates, the copper and lead and all of the other things. So they reallocated, and I've got a 4 or 5 page letter that I believe was shared with everyone a while back, but I can share it again, describing, because we questioned it too, what's the difference, what are they doing differently now, $250 to, $1,000, what changed? And we spent quite a bit of time, the Water and Sewer Authority spent quite a lot of time digging into that to understand exactly what it entails.
Did you pass it at the Sewer and Water Authority?
You ever had it come up?
No, there it is, it says right there that, I'll read it to you.
Yeah,
The St. Clair Sewer and Water Authority received an invoice for the amount of $1,000. It was presented to the Sewer and Water Authority for payment and is determined by their board, which you're part of, to be only partially owed by the Sewer and Water Authority. Attached is a supporting document provided by SEMCOG to help understand the scope of the DMA, its services, and as well as a breakdown of the distribution of funds. The Sewer and Water Authority determined that because the authority only is responsible for the water and sewer plants themselves, and the Sewer and Water Authority would pay for 60% or 2/3 of the invoice, which was $400. A motion was made and passed by the Sewer Water Authority to pay $400 of this invoice, and East China Township pays the remaining. Well, of the $600, part of that is China's.
Right.
Because they have
Okay,
lines.
that's fine, so with the Water and Sewer Authority, we paid what, 400, 600?
Mhm.
Where'd the 1,000 come from?
You add the two together, we do the billing here at the township.
I don't believe
We pay the bills for the Sewer and Water Authority.
it. Yeah,
They all come out of our billing department. These are the checks you're signing every
Keep playing
week.
around SimCog, you're gonna be paying more money.
Well, we'll be having that discussion at our next meeting. So do you have anything else, Don?
No, that's it,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Blackstock?
Nothing tonight.
And I have nothing other than I wish Mr. Horn and Mr. Boda successful.
Yes, good luck to both the Dons.
Jeez and Pete's. Sounds like serious stuff. So with that, I guess a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn at 9:05.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.